What's up, guys? Kris Krāze here, and we are going to talk about this, or why is this empty? Well, you would have known if you were here because this was GrowthCon 10X. 10X GrowthCon 2020. Regardless how you say it, it's a GrowthCon convention based on sales and marketing and business thrown by Grant Cardone. If you don't know who that is, you can Google him. You can find out exactly who that is, because that's not what this video is about. The video is about the recap of what Grant said at the very beginning, because it was extremely important. I might do other videos on what happened out the other 3 days, but that's not what we're focused on here. We're just focused on this right now. And we're going to go in, and this is what happened. So right when the conference started, Grant Cardone was speaking about help and how people need to get help. A lot of us are afraid to get help, and I can personally attest to this, because when you know your trade and you know what you feel like you're too big to receive help. Nobody should ever feel too big to receive help, and he says this. So when you get better at something, when you get more popular, when you get more into whatever you're doing, more farther in business, quote me on that, but get it, farther in business, whatever happens in your life, when you get better at whatever it is, you need more help. And you have to remember that. Don't ever be too afraid to ask for help. So what were some of the quotes, and why is this very important? Well, first and foremost, it's important because when people ask for help, you get better at something. When somebody else has done something, Grant Cardone, Russell Brunson, Tony Robbins, people like this, they've already done something. They've already mastered their trade and their skill sets. So when they hold a convention, when they hold a mastermind, when they hold whatever they do, you have to be able to get access to that information if you want to cut the line, so to say, or if you want to fast track to success. A lot of people mention this. Well, you're not going to do that on your own. And actually, one of the selling tips in some webinars is straight telling people that are watching your webinar, look, you can either do this on your own by Googling and finding out and whatever you're going to do, or you can just buy my X, whatever it is, and you can get the information here. Well, the same applies for you in getting information for other people that have already made it in the industry. And this is something that you have to just suck it up. You got to let your ego down, and you got to just let yourself be open to receiving help so that you can offer your help to other people. So it's a two-way process. Now, a couple of the things that stood out with Grant Cardone, I'm going to quote some of his quotes because I think they're dope and I think they're awesome. Those of you who like the word dope, there's other people that don't, but whatever. Use it out of context, that's not for here. Anyways, here's a couple of the quotes that Grant said at the very beginning, and then we'll go into why help is very important and what he commented on help and what his definition of help was. So a couple of the quotes we're just going to run down here was, one of them is, the only reason you don't want debt is because you don't want to work. I think that this is perfect, because this is very true, because a lot of people online right now are looking for a quick solution or a get-rich-quick scheme. Well, those don't exist. So don't psych yourself out and put yourself in that mindset, because you're never going to get rich quick. You got to put in the work, and you got to do the time to make the money and get successful. Another one of the quotes was, don't get off the game, learn how to run the game. This is extremely important to me, because growing up, I've had to learn everything myself. My father passed away when I was young. Many of you may have other types of setbacks. Whatever your setbacks are, maybe you don't have setbacks, but don't be afraid of the game. Learn how to run the game and learn how to play the game. You can't walk into Vegas, which is where we're at now, and expect that you're just going to clean shop on every one of the tables. It doesn't work like that. You got to run that game on the blackjack table, on the roulette table, on whatever table you're on, in order to win. So why not do the same in business? Why not do the same in any game that you're playing? Business is a game. And I hate the saying, but it is very true. Don't hate the player, hate the game, because the game is there. It sets the rules. It's been around probably before you were born, so don't get mad at the game. Just learn how to play it and learn how to run it. Make the game work in your favor, and you'll find great success and results. So what was another one that I liked? It was, if you hate your job, it's because you don't know how to do your job. This couldn't be closer to the truth, I swear, because so many people out there hate their job and they absolutely hate what they're doing. Well, why not change it? You're the one You are the one that controls that. So just change it. If you really hate it, change it, make a change, do something different, get a different path, go on to do what you really want to do. They did talk about at the conference here about, sitting in your car and about just hating your job and going into this 9 to 5 and blah, blah, blah. Like, just stop, just change. And it's very easy to do when you are starting out. Now, some of you, regardless of what you make and how you make it, that's none of my business and I don't care. But what they did say is the more money you make, the harder it is to change your job because of many factors that are involved. You don't know. There's less jobs available for larger amounts. Skill sets need to be more refined. So these are all things that you'll have to look at later on. But if you're making under $50,000, which was, I think, the number they gave, that's very good because it's easier to change. There's many jobs that are available for $50,000 to $80,000 in many different skill sets and trades. Now, in America, I don't know this, so don't quote me on this, but the average wage or salary per year, I think, is around like $30,000 to $40,000 or something like that. So you're already well above when you're between 50 and 80, but we don't need to go into harp on that. That's just the point of this. So do what you like. And if you hate your job that much, maybe it's because you don't know how to do your job and you're not running your job. The job's running you. If you run your job, you're not going to hate it because you're going to be good at it. Now, another one, money doesn't buy the help, it buys the vehicle. And this is perfect because I believe that this is so true as well. Money doesn't buy the help. And unfortunately, the way humans are wired, we think that we'll just buy something and miraculously things get better. Well, I wish that was true because I would put out thousands of dollars in courses right now and thousands of courses and just sell them all day long. But unfortunately, that's not going to be legitimate and people are going to call me a scam and things like that. So I'm not going to do that. But there's people that do. Anyways, the money doesn't buy the help, it buys the vehicle. So in day to day, people think that you could just pay money and again, miracles happen and the help's already there and you're just going to be better. Well, you're failing yourself in the beginning. You have to understand that money just buys the vehicle. Going back to the beginning of this video and what I said is people like Grant Cardone and Russell Brunson and Tony Robbins, like they're providing a vehicle, and that vehicle is online courses or boot camps or training or masterminds, ways of delivering information to you and allowing you to fast track and use that information to your success. But again, if you don't use the information and you don't implement what you've learned, you're simply just letting it go by the wayside and it's almost going as a waste. So you have to make sure that you implement and you use that, excuse me, you have to make sure that you implement and you use that information and take you further because that information is the vehicle. The vehicle will get you to where you need to go, but you still have to do the work. There's no easy way out of it and there's no cutting corners. Now, there's 3 things that interfere with getting help and receiving help. And those 3 things are limiting beliefs, which I've done videos on. It's crazy because limiting beliefs will limit you on so many things, thinking that you're not good enough, thinking that you're not an expert, not having the time, the big not having the time, like all this stuff. Get all that crap out of here. Like, make the time. If it's important to you, make the time. But again, different video, not here. So limiting beliefs was one of them. The other one was the information's either too basic or too advanced, telling yourself that. You know, there was another speaker on this, on day 3 here on this growth con, and she said, everything is figure outable. I think she has a book on that as well. And that is completely true. There's been so many people that I've met in my life, and even myself, like in my businesses, there's things that I didn't know and I became an expert at, and I religiously and ritually studied those and learned everything I could, and I implemented those into my business, and now I'm an expert at that in my field. Knew nothing about it. So you can do the same thing, especially with Google nowadays. There's simply no excuse that you can't research something and you can't find out something and figure it out, because it can be figured out. It simply can. So number 2 was too basic or too advanced information. Again, that could be a limiting belief. Just throw it out. Number 3 is no plan. And I'll even throw in a number 4 is trying to do everything yourself. Another takeaway from day 3 on this was, you know what? If you learn how to do something, do it. And then you put it on to somebody else, have a manager do it, or find somebody else that does it. And what I was doing is I was pausing here thinking how I can implement my own strategy into this. And I will say this, it's kind of what I'm taking away, but I'm putting my own strategy into it. What I've been a fan of and what I teach in my companies is I learn how to do something so that I can speak the language, I can talk the talk and walk the walk, but then I have a manager in place that does it, my web work. I know all about it, I know how to code, I know how to build websites, but I'm not the one building the websites. I can speak the language and I can have a manager manage those projects and do it and put it out there and get going. But I know enough so that I know where to check it and how to balance it and to make sure everything is going smoothly and just to make sure that I'm not getting ripped off. And a perfect example of what I'm talking about here is when Kevin Hart got up and spoke and he said, look, you know, I don't have promoters, I don't have people that run my shows, like I do everything. And that's great because there is no cut that comes out of that. He's taken home about 95% of his revenue from his shows, because he's doing it. He learned how to do it. He knows about the promoting. He knows about throwing the event. He knows about booking the venue, all of that. But he knows enough to speak the language, walk the walk, talk the talk, but have somebody else do it on his team. He gets the people on his team that sit there and his team makes him who he is. The team is the enterprise. And again, the team was a theme that carried through the entire event. So team is just as important, and I'll do another video on that because that's a whole video by itself. But so the three takeaways, the three items that interfere with people is the limiting beliefs, the basic or too advanced information, and of course no plan when they leave here and doing everything themselves. No plan is simply people come here, they get hyped up, they're on this like enthusiastic high, and then they leave, and then Monday comes around and boom, like all the information just goes out of their head and they just almost forget like what happened because they're back into their own schedule because they're around their surroundings, they're around their house and other people and where they're at, things like that, their business. Like you have to remember, go over your notes every day, look at this stuff, things like that. But those are just the three items that interfere with receiving help. So what about all this help? Why is this so very important? Well, like I said at the beginning of the video, Grant Cardone said his definition of help is the thing that makes it easier for someone to do something because of services and resources received. And that is perfect, because when you receive services and you receive resources and then you implement it, then the services and the resources are the vehicle, and when you implement it, it becomes great and you become great and you move closer towards success. So how does all this matter and why does it matter? The whole point of this video is be receptive to help. When you are receptive and you're open to receiving help, you're open to changing yourself and learning more. The minute you become a constant learning machine and you consistently learn and you're taking in from your environment, and if your environment, key point here, if your environment is the events that you go to, well then you're going to become more successful. If your environment is kicking it back on the block and doing dumb shit and hanging around the wrong crowd, like they tell you, you are the crowd that you hang out with. Well, when you put yourself at events like this and Russell Brunson's and Tony Robbins and things like that, or you immerse yourself into something regardless of what it is and you want to become an expert at it or learn more about it, then you become that. I want to almost compare it to like putting on the clothes that you put on. Like you probably are wondering why I'm wearing this shirt. Well, because today was day 3. I wanted to be kind of crazy and like stand out a little bit. When am I not crazy? But that's another story. But you are the clothes you put on. I guarantee that I would have thought differently and acted differently all day if I had a suit and tie on. I know you would have. Now, if you wear a pair of blue jeans and a shirt with some holes in it, you assume a different personality. It's almost like putting on a different pair of shoes. Well, take those clothes and those shoes analogies and put that into the different events that you go to. That analogy kind of carries the same. When you put yourself in that environment and you immerse yourself in that experience, you start becoming it. So, GrowthCon 2020, 10X GrowthCon, whatever you want to call it, you should have been here. This is just a recap of the beginning, of just the beginning when Grant Cardone spoke for the first, 30 minutes on day 1. And by the way, that show is sick as F. I'm going to keep it clean here. But one of my companies, I run some special effects, and so I relate with the beginning of the show, all the pyrotechnics and CO2, but that's out of this video. That's another time. Anyways, you see an empty hallway right here, and you see one door open. I can guarantee that it was not like this when people were first coming in. And we'll play a clip here. If my video editor gets to this, we'll put a clip here of the beginning. I think I took a photo or a little bit of video, but it was nuts. Anyways, we'll be here next time and next year. And for this video, I'm Kris Krāze. Until next time, 10X GrowthCon. What does 10X mean to you? To me, it means 10 times whatever the hell you're doing and thinking, spin. That's what I'll leave it at here. Kris Krāze, I'm out.